Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me this evening or whatever part of the day it is for you. This is the Stormy Poet, live and in effect. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. It means a lot to me, man. Thank you, whoever you are, for your support. Man, I'm much appreciative, man. Seriously. I'm very humble to be able to get a chance to chop it up with you, and I'm humble that you could have a chance to sit down with me and really check me out. Most def. Tonight I want to really dive into a very important topic. So all my Facebook family, all my YouTube family, all my SoundCloud family, all my thestormypoet.com/rootofallove.com family, on both of those websites, thank you for joining me, man. It means the world to me. Regardless of which platform you're on, and by the way, I'm on medium.com now. Just search the Stormy Poet. I really like that platform. It's really all about reading and only reading. It's not about a bunch of, memes and pictures and all that stuff. It's more about reading in and of itself. So I encourage you to check me out on Medium. Just go to Medium, medium.com, and just in the search box, search The Stormy Poet. You'll find me. Really appreciate it if I can get some Medium followers. I actually like that website a lot, man. That's a really, really dope website that's dedicated strictly to reading, man. And reading is important. Reading is powerful. Reading, the actual act of, is a very powerful and empowering act. So I definitely encourage that, and I encourage you to check not just me out, but other writers on there. Anyways, what I'm coming to all of you tonight about is a topic I feel is very, very important that I think we should really take the time to discuss in regards to dating. And I think the reason why this topic has not been discussed more openly, and I gotta constitute that back to misogyny. You've all heard me talk about misogyny in my most recent episodes, and you've heard me refer to that, and my whole mission statement is based around that on my website and why I formed my website to begin with. But I think this all goes back to misogyny. I think it goes back to misogyny in the sense that if you look at our society, we're a society that really is very sexual. Like, sex is in everything, from advertisement to the movies, to the music, to sports, to any area of human activity. It's everywhere, and it's used to sell everything. More specifically, the objectification of women. But it's taboo to actually talk about the specifics of the actual act of sex itself. It's taboo to, a woman can't breastfeed in public, and I'm of the opinion I don't think a woman should do that. I don't think that's a good idea. But at the same time, it's like, if we're gonna overreact about that, we have to overreact about all this stuff we see in the movies and hear in the music or whatever. So sex, as far as the ins and outs, is not really talked about. Intimacy and lovemaking is not really talked about, because for number one, for guys to talk about that means you're less manly, quote unquote. That means that if you talk about lovemaking and actually being sensual with a woman and actually, being intimate with her, that somehow means that you're less of a man. If we talk about, and that kind of translates into, sexual health in and of itself. If we start talking about sexual health, then that means that me as a man, I have to start really accepting my humanity. Not only that, but your humanity as well. Because in order to accept my humanity, I have to accept that I'm susceptible to getting certain diseases and certain things that could affect me health-wise. So I have to admit that, yeah, I'm human just like you are, and women can get these same things. And it's funny because my friend Chris Robinson, who's my brother from another mother, we were talking about, STDs a while back, and he said, that's how I know that there's a God, because these keep us in order and keep us in check as far as committed relationships go. Why would there be these things to keep us in check and keep us in line if there wasn't some validity in order as it pertains to having committed relationships? I thought that was some real knowledge, real game that he spit right there. I thought that was legit. Word up. So what we need to start having a discussion about is STDs, and the reason we haven't got to do that is because our culture of misogyny says that we can't have these discussions. We can be as sexual as we want, but when it comes to breaking down women as full-blooded human beings and men as full human beings and not gods, we can't talk about that. We can't deal with that. That's not okay. We need to have these discussions because let me tell you something, folks. STDs in this day and age are an epidemic. It's at epidemic proportions. There's a billboard I pass when I drive down Airport Freeway every day on my way home from work that gives these really daunting statistics about how many STDs are being spread around this country. I mentioned it in previous podcasts. It's an epidemic. And a lot of people think that when you think of STDs, you think of herpes, you think of gonorrhea and chlamydia, and that's it. Okay, the danger of STDs extends way further than that. Way further than that. And so what I wanted to get into tonight is not only how can we prevent how can we start to how do I say this? How can we start to address this epidemic of STDs, and how can we start to solve it? How can we start to remedy it? I want to jump into that, but I also want to jump into the nature of STDs and how many people are susceptible to them, even when they're wearing a condom. We always think the condom is the end all be all of protection, and we don't have to worry about none as long as we put that on. You need to, first of all, delete that out your memory right damn now, because that's the most, you can not get any more inaccurate than that. You need to, whatever has been taught to you, whatever has been shown to you by your uncle or your daddy or the internet, delete it right now, because it's not true and you can get something. Delete it right now. This is serious. This is not a game. This is not some damn joke. This epidemic is a real ass thing. And I'm talking about multiple. When I say epidemic, I'm not talking about one specific type of STD. I'm talking about a whole variety of sexually transmitted diseases. I'm talking about a variety. So let's dive into that. Let's really frame this. And let's get into the different types of STDs so we can learn more about them and so we can protect ourselves. So, what are the different types of STDs? Now, let me get into the lower graded ones first, because first of all STDs are messed up. If you as a human being don't care enough about yourself to make the proper steps, to take the proper steps to make sure someone doesn't have nothing, and that says volumes of what you think about yourself. That speaks volumes to that. If you don't care enough to check the person and challenge that person, and they come and give you something, and your body's immune system has to come and fight something off, and your stuff is leaking with that pus coming out of your little pee hole or your whatever, I'm not gonna get into all that other the graphics of it, but if that's coming at your stuff and your stuff is swollen and red, and you could have prevented that, then what does that say about you? What does that say about how you care about yourself? If you didn't check and all you had to do was make a couple of like kind of little check markers as to whether someone's trustworthy or not, then what does that say about you? So all STDs are messed up, and we need to do all that we can to try to avoid them. And the thing about it is, me personally, I will not sleep with anybody who cannot provide me STD test results. Period. Personally, I need to see that, and I need to hear a detailed account of your sexual history. From the last partner, I don't need to hear about everybody. I don't need to hear about, somebody messed with back in 1992. I'm just trying to say, recently, most recent to me, how many partners have you had? Or not how many partners have you had, like who was the last partner that you had and how responsible were they? Have you been tested since then? And can you show me results? That's all that matters. A lot of guys like to ask, I especially have to pick on guys in this regard because I'm guilty of it my damn self in the past. But a lot of guys like to ask, how many dudes have you been with sexually to a woman? First of all, what the hell does that matter at all? It doesn't matter, Jack S. I'm not gonna cuss. I'm trying not to cuss. It doesn't matter anything, though. It doesn't mean anything. Who cares? My focus is on a woman is where you at right now. Like, what is your preference right now? Like, where do you stand right now? Ideology wise, all that. Like, where are you at this particular point in time? And you could have banged 1,000 different dudes. I don't care as long as you got your head on straight now. I don't care as long as you have got your act together. And I don't care as long as, if I'm truly in love with you, if I'm truly 100% in love with you. None of that matters, but I do need to see your STD results. And I'll get to some more of that later. I'll get to some ways you need to challenge your partner that you're about to be sexual with in order to protect your sexual health or your health overall. And I think that you owe it to yourself to ask your partner these things before you lay down and sleep with them, even while wearing a condom. Let's make that very clear. Condoms do not protect everything, so stop thinking of condoms as this bulletproof magic rubber thing that goes around your stuff that can protect everybody from everything, because it doesn't work that way. Now, let me get into some of the lower grade or STDs I deem is still pretty jacked up, but not as messed up as the other ones. They're not deadly. They can be deadly. Let me take that back. But they're very, very treatable. And unless you let them drag on for 2 or 3 or 4 years, then they're probably not deadly. So, Trichonomist, which is a protozoan, is to my knowledge, the most common sexually transmitted disease there is. It's a protozoan. It's a single-celled organism, and it basically starts eating away at the flesh walls of a female and a man, both. It's a really sick protozoan. It really just, it's very easy to treat, but still, again, do you want to subject yourself to that? Another thing I'll add with these other STDs I'll get into it here in a moment is, a lot of them you have to take antibiotics for. And that in and of itself is just kind of like, you could be inadvertently promoting immunity to a lot of these bacteria. You could inadvertently be making yourself what's the word I'm looking for? You could be making yourself, building up a tolerance. That's what I'm trying to say. You could be building up a tolerance to a lot of these antibiotics, and so that makes them less effective against, if you were to use that same antibiotics in the future, that makes them less effective against further future infections. And I can tell you, man, I've had sinus infections, I've had dental infections, I've had inner ear infections, and a lot of those same antibiotics that they used to treat my STD back in the day, they were used then. So my body had gotten used to it, or the bacteria had evolved to become used to it, and they weren't as effective. So we had to choose other routes, and it took longer to heal. So you don't even want to get into that ballpark of having to deal with it. You don't even want to have to deal with that realm. So it's in your best interest overall health-wise to not get an STD. And this, here's some of the ways you can avoid that. For sure. So what are the different, before we get into that, what are the different types of STDs? Trichonomist, which I just went over with you. Gonorrhea, chlamydia. Gonorrhea and chlamydia, I'm not proud to admit, but I've had both. And this is why I say committed relationships and condoms are not the only resolution to this STD epidemic. Let me tell you something. Both of those STDs I got, it's a bacterial infection. The bacteria basically clings to the side of your genital walls, up inside of there, on your, whether it be your urethra or the vagina, and they cling and they multiply, and they're adapted to the human body, which means you can't pee them out, you can't wash them off, you can't do any of that. They are built to live inside of our anatomy. They're constructed in such a way in which they're not able to be easily flushed out. Right, so with those particular infections, they're bacterial, and you need an antibacterial, or you need a penicillin or something like that. And luckily, those are pretty easy to treat. But the thing about those and the dangerous thing about those STDs, gonorrhea and chlamydia, is that sometimes people don't have symptoms. So my first love of my life, we didn't work out. But the very first time I had unprotected sex, this is one of the first times I had sex, period, I caught an STD. It was gonorrhea. The very, very first time. And the reason she gave it to me is because she didn't know she had it. She had gotten it from her previous lover. She had no idea that she had that STD. She didn't have a clue. And that's what's scary is that can cause damage with your sexual organs, your urinary tract, or your urinary tract. It can cause a lot of damage if left unchecked. It can start messing things up down there and wreaking havoc. So yeah, you want to avoid that altogether. Now, wearing a condom will prevent that, but condoms like to break and be janky. So you need to ask your partner their sexual history, and they need to come off those STD results. For sure. Now, the other minor STDs are crabs and scabies, which are both microscopic insects that you catch through sexual contact. And they're microscopic insects that basically burrow in your skin, and your body has an immune reaction to it, starts swelling and itching, and there's that. Now, luckily, that's pretty curable. It's pretty easy to treat that. But again, any STD is undesirable, for sure. So those are a couple of the kind of non-serious ones. Now, getting into the serious ones, which is, again, what this podcast is entitled, is these are the ones that can actually take you out. Now, let me touch on herpes first, because herpes, I will say herpes can't actually kill you, but herpes is so evil that we really have to kind of treat it like something that's do or die, because it's so easy to transmit, so very easy to transmit, and a lot of people don't know enough about it, but it's very prevalent, and it's so easy to transmit it, whether it be through vaginal contact or whether it be through oral contact. So we have to place that in that category, because it's equally as serious. And there's different forms of herpes. We'll get on that in a minute. Another serious one, of course, is AIDS, the HIV virus. Now, here goes another one of those things where it's just like, well, a person might not know they have it for the longest, and they can come and give it to you. That's why it's so important to have results. Don't feel embarrassed or shy about asking for results. That's your damn right to know if someone is safe or not. Don't hesitate. This is your life we're talking about here. For sure. So don't be scared to ask that. And with HIV, man, those symptoms can be janky. A lot of people mistake HIV, which is a virus that attacks your immune system, basically, the cells that comprise your immune system, the very mechanisms you need to fight off diseases and all kind of other shit. I actually have been learning more that, that disease was actually manufactured. The CIA actually manufactured that. So it's a disease, designed. It's something that was born out of evil intentions, basically. So you have to really be careful with that. And I would say just wear a condom, but of course, like I said, condoms break. But definitely always wear protection. Just because I'm saying it's not the only line of defense you should have doesn't mean I'm not saying you should use it. And use it always. There should never be like a time where you just like, I know it's important, but the hormones, screw all that. Just grow the hell up. If you can't control yourself where you have to have raw, unprotected sex, you don't need to be having damn sex. Just sit your ass down somewhere. Seriously. But I digress. HIV is one thing, but what I really want to dive into tonight is let's talk about the STDs that can be spread while wearing a condom and that are commonly spread while wearing a condom. And this leads me back into the whole herpes talk, the herpes discussion. Okay, so genital herpes is very easily spread, even with the condom. It's spread through the fluids of whether it be the man or the woman, and it affects the mucus brains, or the mucus brains is more layman's way to put it, but basically any glands that secrete kind of fluids, whether it be in the vagina or the penis, anything. Sperm and just saliva, your nose, it can infect any of that. Genital herpes, I believe the name of the virus is HSV2. HSV2, I believe, is the name of genital herpes. And that can enter the body through any of those kinds of ways. So if someone has herpes on their genitals and you give them oral sex, you can get it through your oral cavity, and it can travel through your body and start affecting your genitals. It's very rare, but it can happen. And the thing about HSV1, which is oral herpes, which everybody, in high school called that one girl with oral herpes a slut, which is not accurate. It can be transmitted through just kissing. It can be transmitted through a lot of different means, sharing drinks and stuff like that. It can be transferred a lot of different ways. It affects your oral cavity more than anything. The thing about it is the viruses are so closely related. Like, let's say you have oral herpes and you go down on somebody, you can give them oral herpes on their genitals. So it won't be genital herpes, it'll just be oral herpes on their genitals because the virus knows how to interact with those particular types of cells. For sure. And that can be spread with a condom. You can wrap that dick up 4 or 5 times a day. That's not gonna help you. It's a virus that's spread through. It doesn't have to be between the sexual point of contact between the penis and the vagina. It can just be that booty bouncing on you. It can just be that skin hitting up against your skin that will transfer it. The thing about herpes, man, is it does what's called viral shedding. So even if your partner, or even if someone has herpes and they say, I take my medication, they could be taking medicine to help stop the spread of it, to help to keep the virus from kind of replicating effectively, to be able to spread it. But the fact of the matter is, someone with herpes always has the risk of infecting you. Always. And no, they don't need to be showing symptoms in order for it to be contagious. A person can be, even whether they're taking medicine or not, a person can be totally clean down there and have herpes and give it to you. Herpes requires no symptoms to give to somebody else. None. Now, you're more susceptible to infection if someone is exhibiting symptoms, but that doesn't mean that you're off the hook just because they don't have some damn warts growing on their shit at that point in time. It don't work that way. It does not work that way. You can still get it with a condom, regardless if they're showing symptoms or not. And what happens is that herpes virus is an opportune virus. So whenever a person is stressed out, or their immune system's kind of weak because they're stressed out, or because they haven't get enough sleep or taking care of themselves, it's an opportunist virus. It's okay, now's my time to replicate. But all throughout its lifespan, it's always going through these cycles where it just starts emitting the virus through your skin. It hangs out in your body forever. Chills out in a cluster of nerves in your spinal cord, from what I remember. So while it's not deadly, it's more painful and excruciating than anything. It's still something you don't want. I gotta chalk it up. I gotta put it in that same category as these deadly STDs, because damn, it's I've heard it can be debilitating, and I don't want any human being to have to go through that. And you can, let's say a dude just goes down on you ladies, he can give you herpes. He can give you herpes. I don't care how much a dude says he's safe and how much you should trust him, or I don't care if you love his dirty draws. He needs to come off them results. And if he is not willing to come off them results, then damn it, he don't love you. He does not care about you. If he's not willing to make the time and spend the money to go down to the clinic to prove to you that he's safe and that he's not going to infect you with something that could potentially affect your future family. Because here's this, newborn babies can catch herpes from their mothers. Newborn babies can, and what about your future husband? He's going to have to deal with your, possibly having to catch herpes, and you're expecting him to deal with that? That's unfair. Okay, so before you lay down with a dude, he needs to be coming correct and be legit with his information and his documents and his accounts. Period. There are no exceptions. If you're not holding a man to these standards, then you do not love yourself and you don't care about yourself. Vice versa for the dudes. For sure. Now, the last STD I want to touch on, and this one I felt very strongly about because I've had this one as well. My days back then were janky, and I'm not proud of who I was, but damn it, I'm going to be honest about who I was, and I've contracted a couple of STDs, and genital warts was one of them. Now, let me break it down about genital warts before everybody flips their chair over and walks out the room. But the thing about genital warts is all of them are caused by a family of viruses known as HPV, human papillomavirus. And what the virus does is, like any other virus, it uses your cells to replicate itself. And that's all it's pretty much there for. So what it does is it uses your genital cells to replicate itself. And it does it so quickly and overwhelmingly. That's why you get those warts, because it's replicating your cells at just this insane rate, and your cells really wasn't made to do that, but they're doing what the virus tells them to do now, so they're having to do that. So here's the thing that scares me the most about HPV, and I've had the warts before. I'll be the first to admit that I've had the warts. And the thing about HPV though is my doctor told me this. My doctor, my physician, told me, because I was asking her about it. I'm like, hey man, I've had warts before. What's going to happen to me? She said, okay, well, the kind that causes warts is not the kind that causes the cancers. And that's what I was worried about. HPV starts messing with your, to be in layman's terms, it starts messing with your cell's DNA. The very DNA that your cells contains. It starts messing it up. And, when you mess a little code up on the DNA, the cell can start trying to live forever, and it will never die out like how it's supposed to. So HPV causes a lot of different cancers in the genitals, in the oral cavity, in the anal cavity, and basically everywhere that you are capable of performing some type of sex at. Yeah. So the kind that actually causes warts, my doctor kindly informed me of, is not the kind that causes these cancers, thankfully, and your body basically clears it out after a while. So I looked up. I really did. But notice what I said there. Notice what I said. The kind that doesn't cause any warts is the kind that gives people these, vaginal cancer, anal cancer, penile cancer. This virus that normally people don't have any symptoms of is what causes all these horrific cancers. So it's just like herpes. You don't have to have warts to give it to somebody else. You don't have to be, have all these symptoms. You can give it to somebody else just by having sex with a condom on. Even if you go wash yourself off at the end, you're still at risk for it. For sure. And I know a lot of my married people listening are saying, well, if they were just getting a committed relationship, they wouldn't have to worry about this. Okay, well, I just told you, I was in 2 committed relationships, and both of them gave me STDs. That's not the solution for this. That's not going to solve nothing. Committed relationships or anything else. It's going to take having an open discussion about STDs and the true effect that they have and how we're going to solve that. And I think the only way to solve that is to scrutinize your partner that you're going to go to bed with. Ask them what their history is. Ask them, do you have results, STD results printed out? I need to see them before I go to bed with you. Well, I don't really have insurance right now and I can't go to the doctor. Well, then, man, that's your bad, bro. Sorry. You better scrounge together some damn dollars. You better go damn recycle some cans and get your STD test done. There's no excuse for that. A man should know. If you're willing to lie down with women, then you need to be willing to know what your sexual health looks like. Just get on somewhere with all that nonsense. If a man tells you that, then that means that he's probably been with a bunch of women and he's too damn broke to go and get himself tested. So he has to feed you all this nonsense. The same thing to you, fellas. There's no excuse for not being tested for STDs. No excuse whatsoever. If you've had sex, you need to be tested. Don't give me that crap about the cost. You know, people who are willing to spend money on what they want to spend money on. And if your health doesn't matter, then, whatever. You're not the type of person that needs to be having sex. I just wrote a blog a couple of months ago talking about this very same issue. And I said, I'm paraphrasing, marriage is not the only solution to STDs. Marriage and relationships are not the only solution to STDs. And I meant that, man. That you can get it. You can get married to someone who has chlamydia or syphilis, and they can have no symptoms. You're marrying them, and they don't know that they have anything, and you don't know that they have anything. And y'all go and sleep together, and y'all think y'all in this loving marriage, and everything's so perfect. But then you come to find out so-and-so goddamn syphilis. And you've been infected with it, for a month or two now. And here's the thing about syphilis is once that starts kind of eating on your brain, that's it for you. There is no cure beyond that point. Once it gets to a certain stage, there is no cures beyond that point. And some people don't have symptoms of damn syphilis. Syphilis. So, before you go to bed with anybody, I don't care how much you love them. I don't care how sexy they are. I don't care how much you trust them. I don't care what they told you. You need to see test results. Period. There are no exceptions to that rule. There is nothing, if you don't ask for test STD results and ask for a detailed account of their sexual history, then you don't love yourself and you don't give a crap about yourself. You have no respect for yourself whatsoever. None. So don't have sex. Yeah, I know that's getting kind of negative sounding, but I'm trying to keep it true right now. And the fact of the matter is, this is an epidemic, and people are losing their lives to this. And we need to start taking it seriously, and we can't just go off what they taught us in school and sexual education. We have to learn the truth and the reality of things. And the reality of that is STDs are a real part of the reality of sexuality. And we have to take that into account when we're determining who we're going to go to bed with. And we have to stop spreading this crap around. For sure. So anyways, that's been tonight's show. Very glad you could stop and get some of this knowledge. I try to do what I can do to inform the people. You can help me to inform the people even more. I'm a writer. I love to write. That's my passion and my goal in life. And I want to keep getting this type of information out, whether it be written down or whether it be me speaking to you. So please consider making a contribution. You can make a one-time contribution to the link in the description of this video. Or at that same link, you can get on a subscription service, which is like $2 a month. Or you can choose $5 a month. That's basically a cup of coffee. That's nothing to you. But it helps me out substantially, and I appreciate any amount that you're able to give. And thank you to all those who have given. It's much appreciated. Thank you so much. And I will put that money into just getting the information out and really pushing these community initiatives. You help me out greatly, and I salute you for it. This is the Storm Reports signing off. Feel free to check me out at thestormreport.com, where most of these podcasts are hosted out of is soundcloud.com//thestormreport, or more importantly, my relationship guidance page, rootofalllove.com. Feel free to reach out to me through email at tsp at thestormingpoet.com. I would love to chop it up with you. Feel free to give any kind of feedback on any of my work, including this podcast. And I look forward to chatting with you and exchanging ideas with you. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful, productive, positive, pleasant, and amazing day. Peace.